Hello, beautiful sacred souls. Today we're going to explore when the body speaks, trauma signals versus intuition, and why discernment matters. I have been seeing this popular idea in trauma and somatic spaces right now that the body never lies. And also, I am seeing that the body never tells the truth, and that we should always either listen to our body signals as intuition or we should ignore our body signals. And I want to help you understand a middle ground. I deeply respect somatic work, and I actually use it in my own work. And I want to explore something that is nuanced and trauma informed. Because for those of us with attachment trauma, developmental trauma, or complex PTSD, the body doesn't always speak in one consistent way. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it numbs, sometimes it appeases, sometimes it overfunctions, and sometimes it explodes. And without self-awareness and parts awareness, we can easily misinterpret trauma responses as intuition, or we can feel like we should just ignore what is happening in our body because it is a trauma response. It is true that your nervous system is shaped by early relationships. If your caregiving was inconsistent, unpredictable, or emotionally unsafe, your body learned multiple survival strategies, not just one. That means your trauma responses may not be consistent, and neither are your body signals. Sometimes you might feel calm, open, regulated, present, while a part of you is actually people-pleasing, appeasing, caretaking, self-abandoning, emotionally overfunctioning. And this might feel like you're listening to intuition, to your inner compass or your divine nature. And at other times, when a boundary or value or need is crossed or ignored, your nervous system might suddenly shift into defense, anger, voice raising, fight energy, urgency, protective activation. So, your body can send very different signals on which trauma adaptation is activated. And understanding enough about what's happening inside yourself can help you differentiate what is intuition, that is true intuition and true inner guidance from your divine spark or your presence consciousness or your higher self or whatever language makes sense for you, and which is a nervous system adaptation or parts of yourself that need your help. So let me share a story that shows up in my own system. So it is the quiet trauma response of fawn or caretaking. Most of the time, my trauma doesn't show up as fear or panic. It shows up as obsessive caretaking, people-pleasing, emotional attunement, over-responsibility, self-abandonment, and intense empathy. So my body often feels calm, open, regulated. But when I get curious and listen to deep inside myself, I can sense that there is a part of me working very hard to meet others' emotional needs, keep harmony, prevent conflict, maintain connection. And that often feels like love and intuition. But it isn't always true presence. So I've learned to pause and ask, is this compassion? And does it respect the other person's autonomy? Or is this compulsion? Is this coming from a wound? Because when you grow up needing to emotionally hold others in order to stay safe, caretaking can feel like connection, even when it's actually self-erasure. Let's explore another thing that happens, and this is the loud trauma response, and I'll share this from my own lived experience. So there's this other pattern in my system too, because my childhood involved inconsistent caregiving, unpredictability, and emotional instability. Sometimes my nervous system responds in the opposite way. When a boundary, a need, or value is crossed or ignored, I can suddenly feel intense activation, urgency, anger, fight energy, a need to raise my voice, strong defenses, and I want to defend myself. And this is my nervous system saying, something is not safe, something here matters, something needs protection. And this response isn't wrong, but it also needs discernment. Because not every moment of intensity means danger, and not every boundary requires escalation. So here is the missing piece that I have come to learn and that I'm not yet perfect at. It is discernment. Because trauma can look like calm, kindness, generosity, flexibility, emotional openness, which is very much in alignment with what spirituality says we're aiming to do. And that is important for us to be able to do that, but not at the expense of ourself. And trauma can also look like anger, urgency, defense, emotional flooding, shutdown. So instead of blindly trusting every body signal or ignoring every body signal, I practice self-awareness, parts awareness, nervous system tracking, attachment pattern recognition. I then pause and ask, which part of me is activated right now? What does this part fear? What does this part need? Is this present moment truth or past survival strategy? Your body doesn't lie, but trauma filters body signals. And healing is not about suppressing those signals or ignoring those signals or reacting from them. It is learning how to integrate them accurately. This is why self-awareness matters, and research shows that 95% of the population believe they are self-aware, but only 10% actually meet criteria for self-awareness. This is why it is important for you to develop an understanding of your core wounds, your own attachment patterns, and your own trauma adaptations. Because without this awareness, you can mistake trauma responses for intuition. You may override your real needs. You may abandon yourself while believing you're being loving. You may escalate when slowing down would serve better. With self-awareness, you gain choice, you gain clarity, you gain emotional sovereignty, and you learn to respond instead of react. Healing is not about becoming hyper-regulated, perfect, or spiritually bypassed. It's about becoming embodied, human, integrated, which I call being divinely human. It's about learning to listen to your body with wisdom, compassion, and discernment. If this resonated, I hope you'll consider liking, following, subscribing, commenting, sharing, or if you'd like to learn more, I invite you to explore my work. My book, The Divine Within, Healing Ourselves to Heal the World, is a resource that bridges spirituality, psychology, and neuroscience, and offers a step-by-step guide of how to develop self-awareness. Or you can go to my website, blossomingheartwellness.com, for more information about online courses and how to work with me. I'm sending you deep love and appreciation, and I trust that you will find your own way home to yourself.